Hey everybody, this is Andrew Martin coming to you with a new video in the Tools for Transformation series. This is a collection of videos designed to illuminate, to inspire, to enlighten, and to empower you, to give you the tools to actively, deliberately, and consciously begin to transform your life and create the one that you dream of. So the tool that I'm going to share with you today is called the Emotional Architecture. And this is something that I have used personally in my own life, and I'll share a little story with you to sort of tell you how it came about. But it's very interesting to me because my clients come in batches and in waves, and one of the most fascinating things to me about my work is this, phenomenon of there's always sort of a point in time or a period in time where every single client that comes to me is getting a similar teaching or a similar message, or the energetic, information that they're receiving or the energy frequency that they're receiving is very, very similar. And it's just amazing to me how it always seems to occur like this. And this tool is something that pretty much every single person over the past summer, I'm recording this in September of 2016, but every single client, pretty much without exception, was receiving this information and receiving this tool and this exercise. And so this is something that I want to share with you and to put out there. And this is the exact way that it comes through in teachings. This is exactly how it comes through in sessions. And really the intention behind sharing this is to give you a tool that is so powerful and so helpful to allow you to begin to actively create your own reality without needing to come to someone like me. Now, of course, if you need a session, I'm available for you. But my job is self-empowerment through spirit. My job is to give you the tools to inspire you to begin to actively create your own reality, because let's face it, that's what we came here to do in this lifetime. At this amazing monumental point in time, we are here to transform ourselves and to emerge as the divine human, which is the marriage of the human self and the divine self, the higher self, the inner self, the spirit, the soul, whatever it is that you want to call it. So in 2012, and those of you who know my history or who have worked with me know this story, so I'll keep it brief. But starting in 1995, and then again in 2005, and then again in 2012, I had a series of transcendental and clairaudient experiences which left me sort of suddenly awakened and wide open. The switch was flipped on, and all of a sudden, everything that I had ever known didn't make sense anymore. Everything that I had ever wanted to do, I didn't want to do anymore. Everything that had ever satisfied me, that had ever inspired me, that had ever fulfilled me, everything that I ever thought that I was supposed to be doing in this lifetime, none of it was applicable anymore. And I was suddenly left with the knowledge that my life had been changed forever, but absolutely zero idea of how I was going to get there, what exactly it is that I was supposed to be doing, and what the fuck is going on is basically what happened. So in 2012, I was living in Los Angeles. This was June of 2012 or May, early 2012. And I was miserable. I was unhappy in my life. I was unhappy in my job. I could not find the light at the end of the tunnel to save my life. I was collapsing under the weight of this life that I was desperately trying to support, that I didn't even really want anymore. I just wasn't a happy guy. I was in debt up to my ears. I was, not motivated. I was not inspired. I wasn't really doing anything with my life. All I could do was think about how unhappy I was. And so one day I decided to paint my bathroom. That was my solution, was to decorate. So I was in the bathroom and I was painting the wall, and I was just about ready to complete the wall, and I heard this voice say, "You do realize that as soon as you finish painting this wall, it's going to be time to leave, don't you?" Now, let me back up a little bit to 2005 and tell you that I had a similar clairaudient experience in 2005 where I was miserable, I was unhappy, and it was a fucking Groundhog Day repeat of what I had gone through in 2012. 2005 and 2012 were like mirror images of one another. And I was in the same place. I was living in New Jersey. I had been in New York for 7 years. I was unhappy. I was miserable. I didn't want to be doing what I was doing. I didn't know where to go. I had debt up to my ears, same thing. And I just said, I don't know what to do. And the same voice had said, "You do realize it doesn't need to be this difficult, that you can go back to Seattle if you want to." So in 2012, when I heard that voice again, I said, okay, that's it. Something is up. Somebody out there, up there, I don't know where, knows something that I don't know consciously. Somebody up there has access to information that I don't have access to. And clearly the way that I have been living my life especially since 2005, is not working anymore. And I am only continuing to dig myself into this pit of misery through my own resistance to surrender and my own insistence that I know better and that I can create what I want through the sheer force of my will. And it became very clear to me that that just wasn't the truth. So I put down the paint roller after I heard that voice say it's time to leave when you finish the bathroom. I went out and I sat on the couch in the living room and I just kind of collapsed and I said, okay, I don't know what's going on, but clearly there's something else at play here. Clearly there's something that I'm supposed to be doing that I'm not. Because not only am I having the clairaudient experience of literally hearing a voice, it wasn't just in my head, it was a voice in the room. Not only am I having that experience, I'm having that experience again. And it's the exact same voice. And I'm at the exact same place that I was 7 years ago. Hello, how much more fucking clear does it need to be? So I said, okay, fine, I surrender. I said, whoever you are, whatever you want from me, I said, as long as you get me back to Seattle, get me a job, get me an apartment, I will do whatever you want. Whatever it is that I'm supposed to be doing in this life, I will do it as long as I am happy, self-employed, and helping people. That's all I had in that moment. All I knew was that these are the three things that I just require. These are the three things that I know for sure are important to me. At the time, I didn't realize it, but what I had just created was my first version of my emotional architecture. It was something that I just kind of pulled out of the ether, and it was just all I knew in the moment. The only way that I knew how to gauge my life was to say, this is what I want. The next day I quit my job. 3 weeks later, with zero plan and zero understanding of how it was going to show up, I found myself back in Seattle. I had a job, I had an apartment, and my life was completely changed forever. So fast forward through 2012, I started having more and more of my spiritual awakening, more and more stuff started to happen, and I was working a full-time job at an office. I was doing something that was completely not spiritual, but I was still going through this transformation sort of at night and on the weekends, was going through this sort of spiritual boot camp. And what I didn't realize, but what I came to understand was that happy, self-employed, and helping people became the way that I began to gauge my decisions and to move towards whatever it was that was calling me forth. Because here's the deal. I still had no idea what I was going to be doing. I had no idea that 4 years later, sitting here today, I would be doing what I'm doing and that I would be successful at it and really good at it and making a lot of money at it and finding myself happy and satisfied and thriving and self-employed and inspiring people and doing all of the things that I could only ever dream of doing. But I had no idea how it was going to happen. And here's one thing that I see happen all of the time is people come to me and they say they want the plan. They say they want to know A, B, C, X, Y, Z. This is how it's going to happen. This is what I'm going to be required to do. And this is step 1 through 10 of how it's going to unfold. Trust me when I tell you that you do not want the plan. I thought I wanted the plan too, and I used to scream and shout and yell, where's the fucking plan? What the hell am I supposed to do? I don't know what I'm doing. But I didn't want the plan because had I seen the plan in 2012, of what was going to transpire over the next 4 years, I would have said no. I would have turned, I would have tucked my tail between my legs, and I would have made for the hills. Not because what I had to do was scary or terrifying. Yes, it did take me to some places of really having to dig deep to find the courage to speak my truth and to stand up for myself. But more than anything, I wouldn't have believed that it was possible. I would not have believed that I would be doing what I'm doing today. I would have looked at it and said, you're fucking crazy. No way. I'm going to go back to my regular job and I'm just going to continue to be unhappy and try to make it work. So the first thing in understanding the emotional architecture is that you don't want the plan. And the second reason that you don't want the plan is you don't need the plan because the plan already knows what it is. When you have these awakenings, when you have that awareness, that moment where the switch is flipped on and you say, wow, man, all bets are off now. I can't pretend that I'm happy anymore. I can't pretend that I want to do the things that I've been doing anymore. I can't pretend that this is satisfying and that this fulfills me, that I am not unhappy, that I am not miserable in my job or my relationship or my life or my habits or my addictions or whatever. And when we have that moment of awareness that something has changed and something has shifted, we have no choice but to heed it. Because if we continue to pretend it's not real, if we continue to pretend that, nope, everything's fine, I'm doing all right, things get worse and worse and more tangled and more difficult and more stressful and more traumatic. And if we continue to avoid making that choice, if we continue to deny what we know to be true, our life continues to get more and more awful. There's just no other way to say it. So when we finally make that choice to surrender and say, okay, I don't know what it is, but I just know I got to do something, we allow our divine self to begin to emerge, and we allow the divine blueprint to begin to open up and to unbox itself. This is the beautiful part of it. The divine self and the divine blueprint, they already know exactly what they are. They don't need us to define it. And in fact, when we realize that the reason that we're having this human experience is because our divine self chose it, and it is what our divine self decided that it wanted for the growth and evolution of our soul, then we realize, oh, my human experience is a vehicle for this. I am the vessel that gets to breathe life into the work that I came here to do. And that's when life gets really, really exciting, when we allow ourselves to realize that what we need is actually what we want. And when we let those two become partners and to begin to co-create with ourselves, that's when life gets really, really good. So when we have this plan and when we have this awakening and we're called forth and we're asked to begin to show up and to be in service of something that we don't even know what it is, this is where the emotional architecture comes in. The emotional architecture is a way to interface with spirit. Spirit is the infinite source. Imagine that you're standing at a dam and there's all this water and it is up to the brim. It is billions of gallons of water and it's source and it's saying, look, dude, I am ready to unleash in your life. I am ready to bring to you every single thing that you have ever wanted and things that you can't even imagine now, but you need to create a container for me. It's not about creating content because the content knows what it is. Yes, there will be decisions to be made. This is not about an action, and yes, you will craft a plan, but you're going to be crafting a plan in the moment based upon whatever comes forth and asks for you to make a decision about. So you're standing there in front of the dam, and the dam is full and it is at capacity, and you start to see the creaks and the cracks, and it starts to chip, and spirit is saying, come on, dude, I'm getting ready to unleash on you. You gotta give me something to fill up. You've got to create a container for me to fill. You've got to decide what is crucial to you for your experience, and I will come in and I will fill it up and I will do the rest, and you are the one that gets to decide. Man, it isn't about where is the path taking me. It's about what do I want my experience upon the path to be. This is what the emotional architecture is all about. This is how you're going to do it. You're going to take a sheet of paper and you're going to draw a line down the middle, vertically. So you're going to take a sheet of paper and you're just going to draw a line down the center. And it can be one sheet of paper, it can be 100 sheets of paper. It doesn't matter how many pieces of paper you use. There are no gold stars for more or less sheets of paper. And you're going to sit and you're going to do a little bit of a personal inventory. And I want you to do this when you have about 15 to 20 minutes, and you can be quiet and you can be uninterrupted, and you can really just let yourself get into a headspace of you're just kind of looking back on the history of your life. And I want you to think back as young as you can. And I want you to begin to think of all of the times in your life where you felt amazing, where you felt alive, where you felt free, where you felt happy and peaceful and at ease and joyful, or whatever it is. Think of the times in your life, the memories that stick out as the really, really good ones, the really, really powerful ones, the really, really positive or happy ones. And they don't have to be all monumental. They can be something as simple as the time that I went fishing with my granddad and we watched the sunrise in the boat. Or it can be as monumental as the time when I had my first child, or when I got married, or when I graduated college, or when I made, my big advancement in the company and was the CEO, or whatever it is. All you need to do is you need to go back through and make an inventory of all of those memories in your life. And I want you to write those down on the left-hand column, right? So you take the piece of paper, draw the line down the middle on the left-hand column, you think back into your life and write down all of the memories and the times in your life where you just felt amazing, and these stick out as really powerful, wonderful moments in your life. Then on the right-hand side of the column, I want you to begin to look at, why are these memories important to me? Why, out of all of the times that I have experienced in my life, out of the 45 years or however old you are that I have been alive on this planet, why do these memories and these points in time stand out as important to me? Was it because I was happy? Was it because I was free? Was it because I was joyful? Was it because I was creating? Was it because I was laughing? Whatever it is, because I was having fun. Write the reason, the feeling, the energy that was present on the right-hand side of the column for each thing, for each memory that you wrote down. You're going to write down, why does this stand out as important to me? What was going on energetically and emotionally? What did I feel in those moments? And after you do this exercise, you're going to look at the right-hand column of the feelings and the emotions and the energies that were present. And I want you to begin to just look for a couple of things. I want you to look for one of two things. I want you to look for consistencies, and then I want you to look for one-offs. So consistencies would be like, wow, out of the 20 things that I have written down, 10 of them are all about freedom, or 10 of them are all about, creation, or 10, when I'm creative, like I'm painting or I'm writing or I'm drawing, or 10 of them are all about ease or joy or whatever. So you're going to start to look for consistencies, or you're going to look for the ones where you go, wow, man, I didn't even realize how powerful this moment in my life was, but this is like a pivotal, pinnacle, turning point moment of my life, and it is like glaring 24 bold point font that is just staring me in the face that is saying freedom or whatever. So that's how you're going to start. So then once you have identified, and I would say, at first it may only be 3 or 4, and that's fine. It doesn't need to be a super comprehensive list. And I would say ultimately with your emotional architecture, what you're doing is you're looking for about 10 things or less, because any more than 10 and it starts to get a little bit muddy. These are the columns of your emotional architecture. For me, it was happy, self-employed, and helping people. And these became the columns and the ways that I was able to begin to gauge my choices, even when I didn't know what I was doing or where I was headed. So once you've identified a few of them, then I want you to do another aspect of this exercise. Part 2 is that you sit and you imagine and you say, okay, so joyful, freedom, and creativity. These are the 3 things that I have identified in the entirety of my experience that stand out as 3 really crucial things. So joyful, creativity, and freedom. Now let me just imagine when I have a day and I wake up, and those moments in your life when you wake up and let's say things are really stressful or things aren't going well, but you have a moment in the morning where you wake up and for that split second, no matter what's going on in your life, you go, oh man, things are really good. The sun is shining, the birds are singing, and oh shit, fuck, no, things aren't good. I have all these problems. But just imagine for a second, for the sake of this exercise, that those first 3 to 5 seconds of the morning when everything is beautiful and pristine, that you can extend those moments and that those moments could actually be a whole day. If that entire day was built upon those joyful, peaceful moments in the morning and you were looking at freedom, creativity, and joy or self-expression or whatever it is as the 3 components of your emotional architecture, the 3 columns that you've identified, what would your day look like? If you could really, literally build your life out of joyful creativity and freedom, what would that look like? Maybe you would say, well, I would not have anything to do before 10 a.m. and I would be painting in my garage studio, and I would be going out to have lunch with clients or whatever. For me, it was, I don't want to work before 10 a.m., so I don't have to take any clients before 10 a.m. I don't want to do any more than 3 clients in a day because I know when I do more than 3 clients in a day, I get wiped out and I'm not good at my job. I have a lot of free content that I have to provide. I have to produce videos and write blog posts and create the visual wisdom stuff. I have a lot of stuff from the admin perspective. So I want to have a day where I don't have to take clients, so I take every Monday off. So when you begin to imagine what your life would be like if you allowed yourself to really create it from the things that you have identified are crucial to your experience, it begins to give you a picture. And you may not know exactly what it is that you're going to be doing. Because for me, happy, self-employed, and helping people came from past experience. I knew that self-employed was something that I really enjoyed doing. And even when I was working for other people and I was making a ton of money, and when I was self-employed and was broke, I was still more satisfied being self-employed and broke than I ever was working for somebody else. So for me, self-employed was an easy one. Even if you don't know what you would call it, you just say, well, I don't know, I would be creative, I would be joyful, and I would be easy. You can start there. You can begin to imagine what would your day look like. And this is sort of the ongoing visualization part of this exercise, is to begin to ask yourself, okay, if happy, self-employed, and helping people is really what I am saying is crucial to my experience, what would my day possibly even look like? What potentially could I be doing? And you begin to craft a reality, create a reality in your head where you can begin to imagine, wow, this is actually possible and I could see how this could happen. Now be careful, because this is not about crafting the plan in terms of I got to go to the bank and get a business plan and I got to go get a loan and I got to quit my job and I got to sell my house. No. This is about allowing yourself to basically say to the universe, look, as long as I am creative, I have freedom, and I am joyful, I'll do whatever you say. And then a magical thing begins to happen. Once you have identified a few key components of your emotional architecture, then you have a way to gauge your experience and your choices. When I was working full-time for the company in Seattle when I moved back, and all I knew was that happy, self-employed, and helping people was what I was moving towards, and I had no idea what it was going to look like or how I was going to get there. When things began to manifest in my reality, I got to say, okay, does this choice move the mark on happy, self-employed, and helping people? And even when I was working for somebody else, I was like, okay, well, I'm not self-employed, but I can run my desk, I can run my client list like I'm self-employed, I can at least bring an entrepreneurial mentality to it. And it does make me happy to help people. I was working for a staffing agency. It does make me happy to find people work, and that does help them. So there are ways that I can serve these things that I have identified as crucial, even if I'm not doing ideally what I want to do, and even if I have no idea what I am going to end up doing, because this is the thing, we must identify for ourselves and for our experience, what is it that you're showing up for? What is it in your life that you are willing to step across the threshold of your comfort zone for time and time again? And for me, it became happy, self-employed, and helping people. And I said, you know what? I don't know what this means or how it moves the mark. All I know is that this decision moves the mark on happy, self-employed, and helping people, so I can say yes to it. This decision does not move the mark on any of them, so I'm going to say no to it. Let's say I have an opportunity for a promotion. Andrew, do you want this new job? Does that move the mark on happy, self-employed, and helping people? Sure as hell doesn't. So nope, I'm good. I'm going to stay where I am. Because once you have created a container for spirit to fill, it's like you're standing there under the dam with a giant 50-gallon drum and you're saying, come on, fill it up. And spirit says, yes, finally you have given me something to work within. This is where co-creation becomes real. We get to decide what is the quality of our experience. And even in a moment where perhaps something comes in totally unexpected and we didn't think it was coming and it's a total like 180 plot twist, monkey wrench, whatever, I still get to decide how I respond to it. Does my response move the mark on happy, self-employed, and helping people? There is no guarantee that every single experience in your life is going to be airy-fairy, happy-go-lucky, Jesus on a unicorn sliding down a rainbow. That's not the point of a spiritual experience. The point of a spiritual experience is to find your point of equilibrium and your point of connection internally. And once you have something like happy, self-employed, and helping people, once you have identified your emotional architecture, it gives you something to claim. It gives you something to say yes to, even when you don't know what you're being asked to say yes to. It gives you a way to gauge your experience and to consciously and actively and deliberately direct your ship on the path, down the stream, across the ocean, whatever it is, even if you don't know what direction you're headed, because this I know for sure. The divine blueprint, the divine self already knows exactly what it is. It does not need you to define it. What it needs for you to do is to create a container for it to fill up. That is what you get to decide. And that is the most amazing thing, because it unburdens you from having to control every single tiny little detail. And as you continue to move forward and as things begin to open up and that architecture starts to get filled up with the content of who you are and what you really came here to do, that's when life gets really fucking exciting, because then you get to add other columns to your architecture. Then it becomes a living, breathing thing. And this is the deal. It's not a one-time shot. If your emotional architecture shifts a little bit and you add more columns to it and you refine it, mine now I think has 8 columns in it, and it's much more expanded than just happy, self-employed, and helping people. But no matter what I do, and in every single choice that I make, at the core of it is still, does this move the mark on happy, self-employed, and helping people? Yes or no? And then I alleviate any anxiety or panic or second guessing about my decision making. Ooh, I said no. Should I have said yes? Well, did it move the mark on happy, self-employed, and helping people? No, not really. All right, then cool. I can chill out and I can go easy about it. The emotional architecture is the way that you get to consciously decide what is the structure of my life, what is the quality of my path, what am I building for myself. And when I create a container and I allow spirit to come in and say, all right, cool, now what about this? Do you want this? Yes or no? Gauge it against your architecture. Now what about this? Do you want this? Yes or no? And yes, you will be required to move in the direction of your discomfort. Yes, you will be required to step outside of that comfort zone over and over again. Yes, you will be required to make some tough calls and to maybe say some things you'd rather not say, or say goodbye to relationships or old habits or old security blankets or old comfort zones that you would rather not say yes to or say no to. But it gives you a way to direct yourself from a feeling place. And you can say, all right, man, On paper, this may look like the most amazing opportunity, but when I ask myself, does this move the mark on what I have identified as crucial to my experience? And the answer is no, I can safely say, you know what, it's just not for me. Conversely, when I think something looks amazing and yeah, this is an awesome idea, but oh, I'm just not feeling it inside, or oh my God, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of, but then I get there and I'm actually engaging it and I go, wow, actually this feels a lot more like what I want than I thought it would. So it doesn't matter what is physically in front of you. What matters is you get to direct your life from an energetic, emotional place, because this is the truth. As humans, we create solely through our emotions. Think about it. Every single choice and every single decision you have ever made in your life has an emotional underpinning to it. I either want more of it, I want less of it, I want to avoid it, I want to enhance it, I want to minimize it, I want to completely delete it altogether, or I can't wait to get more of it. So every single thing that you have ever done, there is an emotional reason for it. So why not let an emotional, energetic state be the thing that you require for your experience? And then no matter what comes your way, you have a way to gauge if this is a yes or a no for you. And it doesn't always have to move the mark on all three. At one point, maybe self-employed is the big pillar that you're working on all of the time. For me, it certainly was. So happy and helping people, well, yeah, happiness and helping people maybe down the road if I say yes to this opportunity for my self-employment to grow, and maybe it pushes me way outside of my comfort zone, which in the moment I'm not really happy about, but I can see the big picture. Do you feel me? This is about you taking the reins of your experience and creating the container for Spirit to fill up. Spirit says, I am the infinite source, I am the infinite well. And most of you show up asking for a sip or a little, handful of water. Please, may I have some? And Spirit says, you can have as much as you want. I am infinite and eternal. You can have as much as you want. And you know what? Instead of showing up with a little teaspoon, how about a 5-gallon drum? How about a 50-gallon drum? How about a fucking swimming pool? If you think that I am ever endless, if you ever think that there is a limit to what I can do in your life, I'm going to show you. Because if you think of the biggest, most spectacular, wonderful experience that you can ever dream of, Spirit will use that as the foundation to build your life upon. But you got to be willing to claim it, and you've got to give a container for Spirit to fill up. Otherwise, it's just going to continue to be nebulous and messy and unclear and not really focused. And until you decide, this is what I'm claiming and this is what I require for my experience, the minute that you do that, that's when shit starts to get real. So how's that? Emotional architecture. That's what it requires. You've got to show up in your life and begin to claim something, especially when you don't know what it is that you're moving towards. And I guarantee you that you don't even have to know what it is. All you have to do is allow yourself to be called forward by it. Do a little bit of internal work, do a little bit of self-inquiry to figure out what is it that really does thrill me and satisfy me. And then you got to be willing to commit to saying yes to that, because you're really just saying yes to yourself. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, you can always contact me through my website. If I can help shed any light, or if I can help give you some clarity or direction, you can book a session with me. Follow me on Instagram, follow me on YouTube, follow me here, subscribe. The Lighted Ones is where you find me. Lighted Ones on Facebook, The Lighted Ones on Instagram, thelightedones.com is my website. Thank you as always for watching. I love you. Enjoy. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.